This is former WWE referee Jimmy Korderas, and you're listening and watching The Game Plan. And if you're not listening or watching, you will be DQ'd.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for The Game Plan, and in this special collaboration with sportsboom.com, I am happy to be joined by my guest today, who's going to be talking about all things pro wrestling, sports entertainment, SummerSlam, and everything going on in that world of WWE. He is a former WWE referee. He is Jimmy Korderas. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm great, Giancarlo. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. And Jimmy, SummerSlam this weekend, the biggest party of the summer for WWE, and they're going with two nights. The first time ever they're going two nights with this. They've done it with WrestleMania, but now that they're doing it with SummerSlam, do you think this adds more prestige to the event, or do you think the two nights kind of takes away from it?
I think it's a little bit of column A and column B. I mean, people... WrestleMania became two nights, and they got accustomed to it more than anything, and makes it feel more special than any other PLE that they have. SummerSlam was always considered their number two PLE of the year, pay-per-view back in the day, as we used to call it. But at the same time, see, this is where I'm conflicted, because the model for the WWE PLEs, other than WrestleMania, roughly 5-6 matches. They keep the shows tight. They don't go too long. It's not a very long pay-per-view or PLE. But having it two nights gives you an opportunity to have more matches, more storylines, and we get to see, it gives everybody an opportunity. It doesn't leave anybody out. Well, obviously, some people will get left out, but at least the main stories and the main characters won't be left out. And from a business standpoint, it kind of makes sense, because you look at what's happening this weekend in New Jersey, and over the two nights, they're going to have over 90,000 people. Yeah. And if you do just one night, definitely you're only getting about half that in the building. So again, from a business standpoint, I guess strike while the iron's hot. And like I said, you're going to get several matches. You're going to get... I believe there's 6 on both nights as of right now, if I'm not mistaken. So it leaves, again, more opportunities to entertain that fan base. But it is kind of tough when you got to devote an entire weekend to watching wrestling, especially in the summer when you want to be outside.
Yeah. And this also, like, with SummerSlam being two nights, kind of like WrestleMania, they do get some celebrities involved, and a big celebrity's coming in with this, Jelly Roll. He's going to be involved with Logan Paul, Randy Orton, like Drew McIntyre. What do you think of Jelly Roll coming in? Because a lot of people were talking about, like, he's getting the work in, but he's been there now with Logan Paul. Like, what have you made out of this, I guess, storyline between the two of them?
I'll be completely honest. Before he showed up in WWE, I wasn't very familiar with Jelly Roll. I know he has a huge following, and you have to go with. I'm again trying to think of it from a business side and trying to, remove the fan part of me out of the equation. It makes sense to bring in certain celebrities, and someone like a Jelly Roll. My understanding, talking to people, that he's working really hard. I mean, if you look at him now, from that first appearance he ever made in WWE to now, he's transformed his body. He's lost a lot of weight. He doesn't want to embarrass himself. Now, in a situation like this, when you surround him with people like Drew McIntyre, if he can get back in the United States, that is, Randy Orton, Logan Paul, who has really no business being as good as he is this far into his WWE career with the limited amount of matches that he's had. This kid is phenomenal. You're surrounding him with a lot of players that can carry him through this. He doesn't have to do a whole lot, if you know what I mean. So I don't have as much of a problem with this situation, but I'm hoping that he will surprise us, surprise a lot of the naysayers, because look what happened with Jelly Roll. Not with Jelly Roll, with Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Nobody expected that from Bad Bunny. And again, we mentioned Logan Paul. Nobody expected what we're getting from Logan Paul. So I'm not saying he's going to be on that level, but in this situation, he doesn't have to be because he does have the talent surrounding him to help him through that match.
And also, this is going to be remembered as the last SummerSlam of John Cena's in-ring career. The whole retirement tour kind of has been surprising because he turned heel after starting the year off with that nice optimistic promo, sided with The Rock, sold his soul. What have you made of John Cena's retirement tour and this latest stop in SummerSlam as he kind of comes to a close on his career?
I haven't had as much of a problem. I know that everybody's going to say, well, here he goes, the WWE guy talking again. I haven't had as much of a problem with the John Cena run so far as champion as a lot of others because what has been his mantra since he's won the title? He's going to ruin wrestling before he leaves. So is he supposed to have five-star has he ever had a five-star banger? I hate these old
the star system.
yeah, it just it's okay if you want to talk about that, but matches are people's subjective opinions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you either liked the match or you didn't like a match. That's the way I look at it. I liked the match. I didn't like a match. I kind of liked the match. I really liked the match. That's the way I view it. I don't view it as, 5 stars. And then all of a sudden I'm changing it to 6 stars because that was even better than a 5-star. When you have a rating system like that and someone like a Kurt Angle has never had a 5-star match,
yeah,
you
crazy.
just ruined your credibility right there. That being said, I think at SummerSlam, I know a lot of people were disappointed with John Cena and Cody's match at WrestleMania. I think this one, being a street fight, is going to allow them some flexibility to add some bells and whistles to the picture, which I think will help tell the story. And obviously, I don't see a Travis Scott playing any part in this one, which will be a definite plus. I don't want him anywhere near a ring or anywhere near an arena that's having a wrestling event. But I'm curious to see what happens here. I'm very curious to see because the one person that's been absent since the heel turn is The Rock.
Yeah.
Does he show up here? I mean, like, this would be the perfect opportunity for him to show up. I know people are also saying, this would be the perfect time for a double turn. And, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Bully Ray, Bubba Dudley, has stated that is one of the hardest things to accomplish in pro wrestling. It has been done in the past, but everything has to go absolutely right for this to work. And in a situation like this, John Cena is still getting pretty much cheered by a large portion of the audience.
Yeah.
Because of his status as a legend. So for it to work, you need someone who's actually a full-on 100% heel against, someone like a Cody Rhodes who's a huge babyface. If your heel is getting some positive reactions from the audience, the double turn, I don't know if it works as well. And I don't think it's the right time for Cody anyways. I think there's a lot of mileage left for him as a babyface. It's going to be interesting, but if you want to know a prediction, I kind of have a feeling that John Cena retains at SummerSlam. I don't know why. I know people are saying no, he can't retire as a heel champion. I could see it happening.
Like, I do see online on Twitter the double turn talk, but like you mentioned there, like if Cody were to do it and it backfires, would that ruin John Cena's like farewell tour because he isn't going to come back after it? Like, do you think that would kind of put a damper on it?
Right. I mean, like, what happens after that? Because in a situation like that, the babyface has to get his retribution. Yeah. And the retribution would have to be, in this case, recapturing the championship. Do you do that again? And then what from there? Where do you go from there? So I can see maybe some form or fashion Cody getting screwed out of the title once again. We've seen it before. It's worked before. Cody is over enough where you can do that. You can't do that with a lot of guys, but there's a few guys you can do that to. Cody's one, Roman is one. So, I could see Cena going pretty much to the end of his run, his farewell tour, or very, very close to the end of his farewell tour as champion.
And just this whole angle there with him selling his soul to The Rock, and you mentioned it there, like The Rock has been absent for it since they did it. Like, does The Rock have to be involved just to salvage this and have that big payoff, or does his absence kind of bring more intrigue and buzz to like whenever he does end up showing up again?
I think with The Rock, I think at some point he does have to show up to complete the circle because it's because of him that John Cena sold his soul. So you have to pay that off as well. You can't just leave it a dangling carrot there, if you know what I mean. So whether it happens at SummerSlam, whether it happens at John Cena's final appearance, I think it needs to happen. Like I was saying, my fantasy booking brain, I'm thinking people say, well, John Cena can't retire as a heel champion. I'm thinking, why not?
Yeah.
And on that last night, guess who shows up? Whether it's in Boston or wherever it is, he's Cena's hometown at Saturday Night's Main Event. Because what's a bigger platform than that? Saturday Night's Main Event. You're on NBC, national network television in the United States, and of course everywhere else you're on Netflix. And The Rock comes out, and the agreement, some kind of agreement where The Rock is waiting for him to present him the championship. And Cena gives him the old line that Cody told The Rock.
Yeah.
Big F you. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just thinking there's something in play here that looks like Cena's going to go out as a heel, but at the end of the day, he gets his, I'm not redemption, but he becomes the babyface we all wanted him to go out as.
It's going to be interesting to see there. And we also brought up Roman Reigns, how losses really don't affect certain stars. And Roman coming back in the tag match last night on Raw, as we're recording this, they actually had the heels kind of have a one-up on him going into SummerSlam, which was kind of lacking going into it. So do you think now Roman and Jey Uso getting that beat down from Braun and Bronson Reed, like, do you think that adds more now to the matchup going to SummerSlam, or is this kind of just Seth Rollins not being involved and this is a best case scenario?
Both. I think it adds a lot of intrigue into the match because one of the ways to build interest in a match is to get legit heat on the baby faces. Yeah. That's what they did last night. That they got real heat on Roman. We saw some vulnerability, and that's what you have to see in your baby faces. You need to see vulnerability in your baby faces and having them fight from underneath. A guy like Roman Reigns, who, I mean, like he comes out like a god, like a Greek god. He walks out there, and you at times think, yeah, there's no way he could lose, and that's the perception you want to give the people. But at the same time, if you don't have any sympathy for him, or you don't have that doubt in your babyface, or you're saying, oh, maybe he has run into somebody who is bigger, badder, stronger. And I like what they did with Braun Breaker last night, as when they were doing the beatdown, he was the one directing traffic.
Yeah.
He was pointing out, he was telling Bronson Reed what to do. He was saying, go to the top, do the tsunami. And when he was talking trash at Roman after it was all done, I thought that is very interesting because that's building up Braun Breaker to be the focal point of the group while Seth Rollins is not there. Yeah. Because when Seth was there, we didn't get to hear them talk. They were basically standing in the background as hitmen for Seth. Now we're seeing some personality come out from both of them. More so from Braun, but from both of them. And I like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It kind of sounded like Scott Steiner. He was channeling his uncle there when he was calling the crowd fat and going off on everyone else. So I think he's also a guy from NXT, like the second wave of NXT when they did the whole rebrand of coming up and being a legit star. Like, what have you seen from NXT since they kind of shifted the direction and went into like getting NIL deals and college athletes on board?
I understand that you need some pure athletes, and I get that. And you will find a couple of standout prospects in that field, whether they come from football or track or whatever. Pick any sport, any amateur sport. But at the same time, you need a nice mix because you'll need some of those people who did get to work the indies and come into NXT and try to get that. And I know this is going to sound a little controversial to some people, but get that indie stink off them. Because there's nothing wrong with indie wrestling. Don't get me wrong. I love indie wrestling. I attend some shows here in Toronto, in the Toronto area, and I love going because I love the passion. I love the passion that I see in a lot of these people performing in front of a live audience. That being said, when you get to live television for a major company, regardless of whether it's WWE, AEW, TNA, MLW, NWA, it's a different ballgame. You have certain things, certain bad habits that you do on the indies that doesn't translate well for television. So that's what NXT does is they get these athletes, whether they come from the amateur sport world, from the indies, and get them television ready for how they present their television. Right or wrong, like it or not, WWE has their way of doing things. A lot of times, people say, well, that's not the right way. That's the wrong way. This is the right way. No. There's a way that works and a way that doesn't work. The one that works is the right way. And it may be the right way in certain situations, but not in others. So that's why you have to be flexible too in the way you present yourself. And that's the biggest thing about WWE. They could take you in, they could teach you how to better present yourself on television, not only in the ring from an in-ring standpoint, but present yourself on the microphone, how to conduct yourself in public, how to handle yourself on social media. I wish some wrestlers that I read online would have a better understanding of how they could help themselves with their social media. Look at Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, perfect.
Big example. Look at Karrion Kross. Those guys are using social media to their advantage, and it's not by accident. You know what I mean? A lot of guys go out there and they think that being insulting and stuff like that to fans online is getting heat. That's not how you get heat.
You brought it up there too, where that indie stink off them and going to like AEW, going to TNA. We're seeing like some of these other companies kind of thrive right now. Like TNA had their record audience with Slammiversary, had the WWE involvement. AEW was in a stadium in North America and did well in ticket sales there. I don't know if you've seen the rumors online that fans kind of think you hate AEW, but
I see it every day.
Yeah, when you constructively criticize them, because like I'm seeing just constructive criticism, it is like your opinion on the show. Like, what have you seen out of them and how they've been able to navigate like their first few years as a mainstream company in North America?
It's interesting because when they first came out, they were the new kids on the block. There was that honeymoon period where everybody, and it was during a time where WWE's programming was not good. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what it was. It was not entertaining television, and they came along at the right time with the right people in place. Sorry, AEW fans, but Cody was a big part of that. I know you guys don't like to hear that, but him and the Bucks and Kenny, and they had a vision. And it was working because they were different. They were an alternative. They were giving fans stuff they wanted to see. And as time progressed, I think they lost that feel of being completely different and being an alternative. Yeah. They just wanted to, and I know I give Tony Khan a lot of flack over this, but It's got to be more than just putting on great matchups, fantasy matchups. Pro wrestling has always been predicated on great storytelling, giving reasons why we're going to have this match other than, oh, wrestler A versus wrestler B. These are great. This is a great star from Japan meeting a great star from Mexico. This is a great matchup that nobody's ever seen. But the North American audience, of a small minority of them, would be interested in that, if you get my drift. Because not everybody watches New Japan. Not everybody watches CMLL. Not everybody watches wrestling outside of North America, outside of the big two or three. So their focus sometimes is on that smaller niche audience, the hardcore fans who watch everything, and they forget that there's a large portion of wrestling fans out there who are not tied to their television or their computer 24/7 watching wrestling. I mean, I love wrestling. It runs through my veins. But at the same time, I like to sit down and watch a movie. I like to sit down and watch television shows. This is on 7 days a week pretty much. But I want to stay married, so I can't watch wrestling all day long. I got stuff to do with my wife. You got stuff to do with your family. And that's the problem, is they're catering to that niche audience instead of thinking outside the box and saying, look, we can cater to them, but at the same time cater to another audience. And I know people, they hate hearing the casual fan term, but you need to bring that laxed fan back, the one who is tuned out for whatever reason, and give them something to gravitate to. And people get invested in characters. You need characters. Look at now, you look at their roster, they have a great roster of talent, but the majority of them are 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 good to great in-ring performers. But as far as characters go, who are the guys that are the main characters you see? MJF,
Yeah.
obviously. This guy, they they need to do everything they can to keep this guy when his contract is up. That's all I'm going to say, because he's still young and he's got a huge future ahead of him. All he needs is, and I think he's going to get some. I won't say who, but there's somebody there that's helping him out. And ever since he's been there, I've seen a little change in him, and he's kind of cluing in, because there's a lot of young guys now that think they got it, think they get it, and then sooner later on down in their career, a light bulb goes off and go, oh, you know what? I didn't realize that. Perfect example, AJ Styles.
Yeah.
AJ Styles, when he got to WWE, he says that's when the light bulb went off, and didn't understand. He thought he knew until, afterwards. It comes later in life. Some guys pick it up quick, and those are the rare occasions, but it does take a while for it to really sink in. But getting back to AEW now, they're getting better at creating stories and reasons to have matches. Their problem, again, sometimes they blow right through them too fast. They don't give them time to marinate. They don't give them time for the audience to get invested in it. Perfect example, Megan Bayne.
Yeah.
Fed her to Tony Storm. What was it? 2 weeks? Boom. Over. You had an opportunity there. I think, guys like Wardlow. There was a guy that they could have, strapped the rocket to.
Yeah, 100%.
And they missed that opportunity. I think they have a problem with, okay, again, I don't want to sound controversial, but I'm giving you my honest opinion. And this is my opinion, is they tend to focus on average looking guys. Does that mean, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Like, you look at a guy like Brody King. Why is this guy not pushed to the moon?
yeah.
People love him. He's good enough in the ring, but he looks like a beast. But I wish I could put my finger on every little thing, but The bottom line is the boss there has all these great minds surrounding him, and I don't think he's taking full advantage of them. This whole false narrative being put out there by certain wrestling journalists that are saying, oh, all these old vets want to see them go away. Nobody wants to see them go away. The reason everybody's harder on them is because they want them to succeed.
Yeah.
What, I critique the WWE as well when I see stuff that I don't like, but I'm going to critique these guys that are doing monster business. I don't think they need my help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's how the veterans are seeing it too. Those guys are going to do their own thing because guess what? They're making millions of dollars right now, so they're not going to take your advice as much as they would. Now, here are the other guys who, let's be honest, have been struggling. They had a great house for All In, but they do pop great numbers for their pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Their live attendance for television and their ratings, regardless of what you hear about the max numbers and stuff like that. I'm not even going to get into that crap. But their year over year audience has gone down. So something needs to be fixed to bring that audience back up to where it was, because they were getting over 1 million people watching on television.
Yeah.
So the reason everybody's harder on them is because you want them to do better, not because you want them to go away. So and by these journalists saying, oh, well, everybody's saying this because they want they're jealous because they can't get a job there and they want them to go. You're not doing them any favors by doing that. You're actually turning people off by saying that instead of telling the truth.
Like you can see WWE on Netflix, like they have the $1 billion network broadcast rights deal. AEW, they're the second biggest one here. They're on TNT, so everyone wants them to succeed and get that kind of deal because it uplifts like a TNA who, aside from the Rogers deal, they could be going out and shopping their distribution around. So I get what you say, and like I think it's constructive. Like I'm not one of the fans there that think that you want them to go away because there's more jobs like that, right? Because if there's another company on a big platform, it's going to bring some more eyeballs and independent wrestlers contracts, right?
I got friends that are working there. Why would I want to see them out of a job? Do you think if these guys close down shop, everybody's going to go work for the number one? No.
Yeah.
Guess what that does too? It brings the market value down for all the wrestlers now.
Yeah.
Yes. So this, God bless Tony Khan for creating this company and giving people a viable place to work, but you want this company to continue to thrive, not just be a hobby.
And just some questions here I want to ask you about SummerSlam in general, because you've been around these for a long time, and they're going to have a TLC match at SummerSlam, and the first one was 25 years ago. Edge, Christian, the Dudleys, the Hardys. It's a match I've like personally gone back and watched a lot of times. Like when these matches are put together, and especially with some of the young guys that are in there, as a referee or as an agent, how do you stop or protect the guys from themselves at times from maybe pushing the envelope a little too much in these kind of situations?
Depending on who it is, sometimes guys are going to try and push the envelope as far as they can. But the one thing about the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian was the trust factor that they had in each other. I mean, they knew they were going to get banged up. You can't, this is furniture you're dealing with and ladders and stuff like that. So there's no getting around it. You're going to go through a table, you're going to feel it. You're going to hit with chairs, you're going to feel it. Even the ladders, landing on ladders, you're definitely going to feel it. But there's also a trust factor they have in each other that they will do their best to protect each other at the same time. And my job as a referee in those matches is to first and foremost make sure that everybody is okay, and make sure that I remember, like, I'll give you an example. Do you remember the spot? This was at WrestleMania though, not SummerSlam, where Jeff was hanging from the belts and Edge speared him off there.
Oh yeah.
If there was a ladder in the ring, just sitting down on its side. And I'm just looking at it, and I figured they're not going to land on it, but it is fairly close. So I kind of like pulling the ladder out of the way as best I could, so they had a clear path to land because that impact, anyways, was good. You have to be cognizant of that stuff, And like I said, your first and foremost, your job is to make sure that after every landing, somebody's okay. And I know some of the guys get upset, like, you don't have to come over right away. And I'm thinking, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's, it's again to check on them, but at the same time, it adds a little bit of urgency to the match as well. Like if I'm going over right away to check, obviously it looks serious.
Yeah.
And, and the biggest, um, challenge in those matches is communicating to the talent because obviously everything's timed. So you got to pass messages to them. So there's matches where the referees are outside the ring. You got to pick your spots. You can't just walk over and go, "Hey, 6 minutes left" or whatever.
I'm sure you're watching this also as a fan because you're watching like with two hats on basically. You have to inform them, but you're also like watching the match and you see Bubba Dudley go through 4 tables, Jeff Hardy doing a swanton from the largest ladder he can find. Like,
Hmm.
what's going through your mind in that moment? And like, do you know ahead of time of what kind of stuff they're going to be doing in this match?
Yeah, because when they're going over stuff, for the most, I want to be there to hear what's going on.
Yeah.
And when it's this type of match, like referees sometimes will offer suggestions. When it's this type of match, I just sat quiet and listened and made sure that I knew what was going on the whole time. That's all I want to know. I want to know what was going on, when, and where in around ringside. And after, when it was ready to go out, and it just asked the question, "Is there anything else you need me to do?" And they'll let you know.
And a couple other SummerSlams I've followed. One that fans consider to be the greatest SummerSlam was 2 years after that in 2002. The big return of Shawn Michaels to the ring after his back injury. And it looked like at the time it was like a one-off, and it ended up being a second act of his career. What do you remember from Shawn Michaels' big return?
It's almost like he didn't miss a beat. That was the surprising thing. He will tell you himself his wind was not what it was back before he came back. But man, he was able to adapt because when I say it looked like he didn't skip a beat, obviously, as you get on and the injuries start piling up, you tend not to do things as much as you used to before. And he was able to tone it down just a little bit without actually giving away the fact that he was toning his style down. He was so good at just making everybody else look great. And I know some people are like, well, he used his selling, he was a little over the top, but that was Shawn. Have you ever watched Ric Flair take a hit and then he just does that stumble and face plant? You think that wasn't over the top, but he's recognized as one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest. But Shawn himself doesn't get talked about enough in the conversations when you talk about guys who are on top 5 or top 10 lists.
Yeah. And like him and Triple H, their match, do you think that would have worked if he had like another opponent, or it had to be Triple H in that kind of moment in his career?
I think having Triple H there again with Shawn coming back after his back issues, the trust factor was there. So Shawn was able to relax, and Hunter was able to help him relax and talk to him through the match. So I think for that circumstance, for that reason alone, I think he was the right opponent for him.
Agree there. And this SummerSlam in 2002, and we saw also 2004, like Brock Lesnar, really young, he gets the ball, gets the rub there, and takes out The Rock. 2004, Randy Orton becomes the top guy, youngest champion. When they're at this stage of their life, like so young into their 20s, do you think WWE has changed their stance maybe on giving such a young guy like the face of the company status, or do you think this was the right thing to do at the time?
Um, I think it was the right thing to do at the time. Have they changed that mindset? I don't think they've changed it. I just don't think they've had someone that young, like a Brock Lesnar, like a Randy Orton. Like, to me, still to this day, I consider Randy Orton the most complete wrestler on the planet right now. Um, they, it's a different time. I think they focus more on taking someone at that age uh, and wanting to really, really mold them and shape them and make sure they're ready. Whereas the old regime would see somebody like a Brock and say, "Ah, there you go, that's our guy. Strap the rocket to him." You know what I mean? And somebody like a Randy Orton, who everybody saw, they saw it in Randy Orton early. They knew, okay, this guy is going to be the guy in the future. But sometimes, sometimes the old boss used to rush things along too, and just say, you know what, let's do it now because this guy's got it.
And just want to ask you a couple final questions here. When we scheduled this interview, it was like before Hulk Hogan's passing. So there has been kind of like a complicated discussion about his legacy, but you known him since you started in WWE at the height of his Hulkamania run, and then when he came back in 2002, you got to see that second act of his run. What did you remember about Hulk Hogan?
I remember that he, from the first time I met him, was really he was nice. He was nice to me, anyways, because the first time I met him was when one of my first jobs with Jack Tunney working here in Toronto was he would send me to the airport hotel to pick up talent, bring him down to Maple Leaf Gardens, like anybody from Randy Savage to Andre, or and the first time he sent me up to pick up Hulk, um, I I went to the hotel to pick him up. I met him in the lobby, and I didn't know how to refer to him to as, you know what I mean? It's Hulk Hogan standing right there, and I'm like, do I call him Mr. Hogan, Mr. Hulk? I don't know what to I don't know what to call him. And I said, "Hi, I'm Jimmy Korderas. Jack sent me up here to pick you up and take you down to the garden." He says, I was, "Hey brother, how's it?" He called everybody brother. "Hey brother, how's it go?" "Yeah, let's go." So he hops in the car, and on the ride down, the entire ride down, he was having a conversation with me, asking me about me, how long I've been working for Jack, and like, just like, not talking wrestling, just like a conversation, like, just to get. And then we get down to the to the garden and park the car. I walk him inside, and all right. He says, "Hey brother, thanks for the ride." He says, um, "If you need anything, you let me know." And that kind of struck me as like, whoa, what does he mean if I need anything? Like, that's kind of cool, because here's Hulk Hogan telling me, and he just met me, "If you need anything, you let me know." And I thought, that's the coolest thing ever. And then as the years went by, obviously, you develop a friendship and a relationship. And he was always, always super cool to me, super cool. So I can't, that other side that's being talked about now, I never saw that. So, you know, and unfortunately, in a world we live in, people will focus on the negatives. Look, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Everybody has their flaws. Um, Unfortunately, when you're someone of the stature of a Hulk Hogan, and those flaws come out, they get magnified tenfold. And just the biggest problem I had, if you I don't preach forgive and forget, because I'm not asking anybody to forget about what he said. I'm not asking anybody to forgive him for saying what he said. But at the same time, a family just lost a husband, a father, a family member, friends, dear friends lost a dear friend. it wasn't the right time to go on this all this negativity. It was almost like they were trying to take a victory lap around the man's grave that hasn't even been dug yet. Like, like if you had a problem with the man, you don't have to say anything. You
Yeah.
know, I just don't like what happened. And then people are paying tribute to the legacy of Hogan in the business, and they're catching a lot of flack for it. And look at Chelsea Green getting death
Yeah, I
threats.
saw
Come
that.
on,
Yeah.
guys, that is beyond vile. Nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves that. So all I'm saying is, you can still have your feelings, whatever they are, but you can be respectful to the family and show a little tact and class. And just, if you want to go off on a tirade, at least wait a month or so before you do it. You don't have to do it right away. I don't know. That's the part that bothers me the most.
And at the time in the 80s, like you're mentioning there, like when he comes in and he's asking you if you need anything, and then you like see like this is Hulk Hogan, the top guy, and you see the reaction he gets every time he walks out the curtain. Like, what do you, is there like an ovation you remember of like seeing that vividly when him coming out that really sticks to you?
The first one, obviously WrestleMania 6, because here in Toronto, very special, both WrestleManias, and WrestleMania 18, because
Yeah.
um, I wasn't refereeing the match, but when the match was going to the ring, I snuck out into the dome where the tech area is, because I didn't want to watch it on the monitor. I wanted to watch it out in the arena proper. And plus, the tech area does have monitors there, so if I wanted to get close up shots, it was easy. And I snuck out there, and I looked behind me, and sneaking out into the tech area behind me are a bunch of the boys, because they wanted to experience this. And I don't care. You can claim whatever you want, but that night at the Sky Dome here in Toronto, I'm still going to call it the Sky Dome. I don't care. The Sky
Yeah.
Dome here in Toronto, when Rock and Hogan were in the ring, that crowd was louder than any crowd I have ever heard in my life. That was insane. If anybody who's in the building can tell you, it was literally shaking. I know that's a cliche that people use, but that building was literally shaking. And the Sky Dome had, I don't know if it's been altered since then, because I know they've done reservations, but the acoustics in that building suck big time. Sound escapes in that place really, really badly. But that night, you wouldn't know. It was incredible. That is the loud. When Hulk kicked out of that rock bottom, as Pat Patterson used to say, that place went banana. And and look, let me put it to you this way, because here's Rock, here's Hogan. They did that face off where they stared at each other for what, like 4 or 5 minutes, it felt like?
Yeah.
The entire time, nobody was sitting, and they were all on their feet screaming and yelling, cheering. They didn't have to do a thing.
Yeah.
And that's when I talk about people getting invested in characters, getting invested in the person, as opposed to, I mean, they can do all the twisting, burning, 450 hammer Phoenix splashes they want. That gets a reaction for a moment. People go, oh, that was cool. But that's it. When you talk about Hulk Hogan moments, what's the first thing that pops up in everybody's head?
The Hulk up.
There you go.
And just even on that, like WWE, I saw they posted the audio only, like with no commentary, with JR and King there, and you hear the crowd when he hulks up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you think now that finally does it justice of how big that moment was and just the crowd? Because before they hadn't really uploaded that kind of content before.
It's interesting that they do just the audio, because the wrestlers in the ring, the ones that know better, Listen to the crowd. That's what they predicate everything they do on. Listening to the crowd. If you get that reaction, then you know you're doing something right. If you're not getting a reaction from the crowd, then you know, uh-oh, okay, got to do something here to get these people into it. But that shows you how, just by having the audio portion and listening to that, shows you how important that moment was. Because I can't think of any other audio clip that they use, unless you could. I'm sure there's something out there that where it's just the audio clip. I mean, probably Mick Foley flying off the top of
Oh
the Hell
yeah.
in a Cell with JR's call. Oh my God, they killed him. That kind of stuff. Um, but to have a moment where they just play the audio, that's incredible to me. That's incredible.
Yeah, because I noticed maybe it's a TKO thing because the UFC have done it in the past few years. Like,
Mhm.
if WWE were to continue doing this, is there like a moment that you would love to see just the audio only on?
Um, Obviously, stuff with JR and King is classic, but I'll even go back to last year, not WrestleMania in Philly when Cody and Roman were going into their Bloodline Rules match, and the ending where we had the stars come in. I know people were expecting. We got Cena, which was expected, but a lot of people were expecting Stone Cold that night. So the glass shattering was an amazing moment. But when they hit the gong and Undertaker's gong hit and the place went dark, that's another one where you can use that moment where you can hear the crowd go crazy because it was unexpected. Nobody
Yeah.
expected to see the dead man show up. Little things like that. I think you can take clips from different things. Roman Reigns' return is
Yeah.
another one you can probably get from it. Um, a lot of stuff from Europe because the crowds there and the way they do the sing-alongs and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. And they're starting to adapt it over here in North America. I'm seeing crowds starting to do it, but you know, there's a lot they could probably do. There's probably a lot.
Okay. And before we wrap up here, Jimmy, and let you go, I appreciate you've been very generous with your time here. How can our viewers here at the Game Plan and sportsroom.com stay up to date with everything you're doing and your podcast and follow you on social media?
Oh, yeah. You can follow me on social media at Jimmy Korderas on Twitter. I still call it that. At Real Jimmy Korderas on Instagram. I also have actually two shows that I do. I do the Reffing It Up podcast with Brian Hebner and Daniel Spencer, who is the lead official at TNA. And I got to give RJ a shout out because he's our technical guy, or else we'd have a lot of problems because, we're referees. All we can do is count to three, right? So, but we have a lot of fun with that show. I also do Huge Pop Radio with Donnie De Silva, and we have some great guests. Recently, we just spoke to who did we speak to? We spoke to The Godfather. Um, this week, I'm trying to. Why am I blanking out? Anyways, we have great guests. Just check them out. HugePopRadio.com is where you can find everything. We're on all the streaming platforms and the whole bit. And of course, on all my social media platforms, I do my little ref and rants every morning. Where from Monday to Friday, just trying to little critiques that I think might tighten some screws or might not. Just again, they're all my opinion. But hey,
Highly recommend that follow, Jimmy. And I appreciate you for sharing your time and coming on here to talk all about this. And I wish you all the best.
you too, Giancarlo. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it, and sorry for rambling so much.
No worries.